Are you a coder who gets rejected based on no practical experience or because others have a strong LinkedIn personal brand and you don't? Your coaching institute will hate me for doing this, but I welcome you to Code to Career 30 days challenge where I have chosen these 5 total strangers out of my LinkedIn contacts and have taken up the challenge to help them go from jobless or underpaid to well paid job, that too without additional degrees and certifications in the next 30 days. If you are a coder and wants to get a well paid job, this is your golden chance to experience real project implementation from scratch that gets you a well paid job and builds your LinkedIn personal brand and also resume for absolutely free. So why just watch? Get into our WhatsApp community to experience this. Link is in the description. Now let's get started.
So,
Yeah, today I will explain the coding also. I will break each part of the code.
hmm.
We will do for read request also, and we will do for write request, so that you understand how these individual pieces of the code come together. You break the pieces complete code into small parts, then you understand the small parts and the connection between the part above and the lower part. If I explain, then you will see that, oh, okay, this is how it is there. We can discuss a little bit C language also, like how a particular feature or particular control statement is coming into play to satisfy certain requirements. Ultimately, you need to also understand how C is being used, right? Not just what the
Yes.
code is doing. So with this, you will be in a good position to really appreciate what is happening. So let me
Okay.
start sharing the screen. Write process is very simple, so we will not complicate also. Yes. In the read request, the client is interested to get a file which is there in the server. So it has to trigger a connection. Even in write request also it is same. But in the read request, the server has to do a lot of work. The server has to do a lot of work to break the code or to break the file into pieces, which is 512 bytes, then add the 4 bytes. Every time it needs to keep a tab on the position where the next packet has to go. 512 bytes, I go to the next 512 byte boundary, which is the 513th byte, and I go next that 624, then I keep on increasing. Anytime I don't get an acknowledgement with a block number, which was sent, so I have to again retransmit. So I go for some, and the connection gets lost or the packet gets lost, I go for retrace, and I declare saying that I waited for certain amount of time, nothing happened. I tried 3 times, nothing happened. I declare something is very terribly wrong with the communication and I declare close. In the writing, the heavy effort is from the sender, which is the client side, saying that I have a file, I am sending it to you, you just store it. Okay. So the objectives of this presentation and today's session would be the implementation of functionality to implement the functionality to handle write request from the server side only, and how the flow happens sequentially, what is the client that is doing from its side and what is the server doing from its side. So the write request gets triggered from the client because it has a file with it and it wants to put it at the server side. The onus is also on the client side to tell that this is the file that I want to send and the name of the file. For the first time, let us say when you are trying to load something into the server has no idea. So the client has to tell everything that, boss, this is the file, this is the name of the file, and this is the mode in which I want to write. For now, convenience of our discussion, we are not assuming the mode to be net ASCII. The reason why we are thinking just everything as a byte. See, when it is a net ASCII, then you have to do some understanding also and try to put it in an order so that when it is retrieved in the same format. But if it is just a byte, I will collect it as a byte and I will give it as a byte. Imagine you give dress to a tailor and you said the tailor that function is going to come and I want this dress to be ready by so and so date. 1 week later, you go on the 5th day and you see that nothing happens. Then you can take the cloth that you have given without any modification, just like that. No problem, right? Imagine that person started modifying the cloth. Means he started stitching. Now you have 2 days to go for the function. हाँ, शर्ट तो है, but हाथ नहीं है. There is no choice. And you can only take it when it is transformed in the way that you expected, which is what the idea you have in your mind that my shirt has to be like this. He took the measurements and all those things, and I am receiving the same thing. In the meantime, the tailor would have done a lot of modification to the cloth piece. The server acknowledges each data block received to ensure successful transfer. Right. Everything in TFTP gets dictated or the particular action is taken based on the opcode. Read request or write request or data or acknowledgement or error, everything is an opcode. Now the write request opcode is 2. File name and mode, these are variable length because net ASCII is also a string. I can put it as an octet or net ASCII or mail. We are not considering mail now. So the client, it is its responsibility, as I said earlier, to say that this is the file name and this is the mode. Typically octet or net ASCII after the opcode separated by a null character. Remember the packet. We have the opcode, then there is a 0, and then there is a mode in the RFC. How many of you are able to recollect? Coming to your mind? So this is the packet structure. Now, what is the flow that is typically happening? We will look into the code. Let me bring it here. Yeah. So the file operations, file opening and creation. The client is saying that store it in this location. And this is the file name. Yes, if the file is existing, it's a simple activity for the server to take the information and put it in the file. What if the file is not existing? The server has to go and create a file, open it, and then start filling it. So the onus of creation of the file, if it is not existing, is with the server. For every data packet that is received from the client, the server acknowledges. Now here is the catch. For the first time, when the client makes a request that I want the data that I am going to send to you needs to be written into a file, server make a request. Sorry, the client made a request. Now the server has to respond, right? Still the client has not sent any data. It just declared its intention saying that I have certain amount of data. Can you please store it at your side in this file? Server is saying, okay, fine. If the file is not existing, I will create. If it is there, I will store. Now this agreement or this approval of, if you want to work with me personally, where I guarantee to work with you until you secure a well-paid job, book a one-on-one call with me. Link is in the description. Yes, send me the data and I will store. Somehow has to come to the client, right? Otherwise, why will the client send the first byte or the first packet? Are you with me? So for the first time, when the client makes a request that I have some data and this is the file name and this is the mode, the server sends an acknowledgement, but it will send the acknowledgement with the block number as 0. So that the subsequent things, when the client is sending the information, which would be the first block, second block, third block. First block received by the server, acknowledgement goes with the block number as 1. Second block, 2. Third block, 3. But the first request, which is a request to the server saying that I have something to write, this is the file name and this is the mode, is acknowledged with the block number 0. Clear? So file writing. Now the last packet. The client is
Like
sending.
we have specific scenario. So this is one type of scenario, or like generally the mechanism like it is like this actually. Block number 0, block number 1, 2.
What do you mean by scenario or in general?
The thing is like, okay, it is sending a file and then the client is asking to make a file. So that kind of scenario which is said, right? So in the scenario, it will be sending as block 0, block 1, or like every time when clients sends the write request to the server, it will first thing will be block 0.
Yeah, the first thing will be block 0. That's what the protocol says.
Oh, okay.
That's what the protocol says. Because somewhere the client has to know that I can go ahead with the first block, right? How will I know?
Yeah. Yes, I'm saying.
You say hello and I am silent and looking at you. You will think, what is happening? If I also say hi, then you go with the second actual content of the message, right?
Yeah, yes, I'm saying that.
Yes. Now, when the client has a data packet which is less than 512, then it means it's the last packet. Yeah. So transfer ends when the data packet smaller than 512 bytes is received. 1 to 511, anything. Okay, assignment, because this is you remember the error codes. There is also an error packet. Now we are not handling any error packet, but still I will tell you how TDD can be used here to, when you look at the file, not the file, sorry. When you look at the document where the code is there, today's handout, you will see how TDD can be applied instantly to that process. And we see how the first function will automatically come by virtue of we narrating the sequence of steps. Think like this. You have certain process to be done. You really don't know how the functions will evolve, how I need to write the function and all those things. Nothing is there in your mind. Completely blank. You only know at a high level that this has to be done. Now you start narration. It's like you have a framework, you know the end objective, you know where you are starting from. In the process of moving from the place that you are there to the place that you want to go, you keep on narrating that, okay, first I will go like this, I will do this and all this. This is what is the typical journey that has to happen. What we have discussed in the beginning stages of this particular project is that can be done in a systematic way. So the crude structure that you write, the crude essay that you write may not be having so many things, but the moment you apply the principles of use cases, the principle of or the mechanism of sequence diagram, TDD, and all those things, you bring a structure to the essay. How many of you had the experience in your school days or something that you have, no, need not be an essay writing competition, but something where you wrote a big page full of response, you read it again and you felt that, no, here I have to break it into paragraph, this I have to underline, this is not needed, this is not clear. When you proofread the document that you have written, did it happen anytime in your life that you had to redo it again? May not be major changes, but minor changes. How many of you have gone through this? type me in the chat box so that I can understand. Because this is what exactly we need to do. Now the complexity is way too much. That is why we are taking the process of use case diagram, the mechanism of sequence diagram, and then we are also using the class responsibility collaboration stuff to really understand if at all I have to create a character for this particular entity which is coming into play, what should I do? If you have read about some novel or something, when the author wants to introduce a character, the author will first set a context that this is what is happening, the crime scene or whatever. Then he or she will slowly start introducing the characters, saying that this person is like this with a pipe in the hand or this walking stick. You understand what I'm trying to say, right? When all this context is done, then when I start sending the dialogues between one character to another character, it makes complete sense for the person who is watching this or reading this. We are doing the same thing. We first wrote the particular essay. We tried to divide it, but we did not divide it in a very random manner. We started saying that these are the use cases. We brought in the sequence diagrams. We brought in class responsibility, collaboration, everything. We started now refining the essay so that we fall to a level of pseudocode. There we take a detour. We go to test-driven development. We write a test case. We make it fail. Then we write the small increment piece of code. Then make it pass. Test case, make it fail. Incrementally, code is coming along with the TDD. Is this flow clear? The reason why I am reiterating all these things is because I would be relating the same thing now once I show you the code. The server code handling the write request. If you are clear, then say yes so that I can move forward. Yes, yes, are you clear? Nehal, Harsha, Swaminathan, Chandrika. Great. So let us then go to our. Let me see if there are any other slides. I think the assignment is the last one. Implement error handling for disk is full, file already exists or something. Enhance write request functionality by adding support. Okay. Yeah, next steps is fine. Okay. Let me now share the document. We will not spend time on this because we already discussed. Let us directly jump to the code. Standard declarations, but let us now start from the main. Create the sock FD int, create the socket address internet, which is a structure to hold server address and client address. 2 instances of socket address. Then the socket length, your buffer size, which is now 516 bytes. Go to the macro, buffer size 516 bytes. Block size 512 bytes. The 4 bytes for the header. Create the socket, you get the socket file descriptor. Now, if that fails, which is a negative response from the socket API, and if you see it is family is internet family and the type is UDP, socket datagram, which is UDP. Socket failed, so you exit with an exit failure. Else, you populate the server details. Because this is what I have to use to talk to the server. So when I'm creating a socket from my side, I have to understand what is the address of the server, what is the family, and all those things. What is the port number I have to do? So if you see the port number, the first connection, 69. The first packet is always 69. Remember TIDs? The first packet is always 69, then the TIDs become the port numbers. Now, I bind. In the sense, this is the server that I am stabilizing myself or initializing myself, then I bind to a socket. Now I am listening. I will be in the listening mode. The client sent data to me now. receive from is from the client. The code is from the server. So I have to initialize myself. I have to tell that this is my port number and I am looking at the door. Then the client came inside the door, through the door. Now I received from the client. Once I received from the client, I look at the opcode. Is it right request or not? If it is the right request, I go to the location and start reading the file name. Clear here? Harsha, you had similar question last time, remember?
Yes,
Where is the
sir.
file name and all those things? That
Yes,
time
sir.
the server already received the file name because it was a read request. But now here the client is sending the file. Store it in this file. So it has to send the file name. Then it starts handling the write request. Everything is done. Close the socket, return 0. Let us go to the handle write request. Now let us bring the TDD concepts. The client is going to send me the data packets. I understood. I have to handle. What is the first response that the client expects? The moment it says that, okay, this is the file name, this is the mode. When do you think the test case of client talking with the server fail? When do you think in the process of this communication, something can go wrong at the first step only? And how do you tackle it? Anyone?
Loss of connection.
If you want to work with me personally, where I guarantee to work with you until you secure a well paid job, book a one on one call with me. Link is in the description.
Sir.
Connection lost, a network issue.
Yeah, anything can happen. But how does the client know that something has gone bad?
Error packet.
No,
Okay,
within the
error packet.
timeline, it is not getting any request. The server
What
is not
request?
getting anything within the time frame.
No, not now. Don't look at the server. We are trying to implement something from the server side, but we are trying to implement from the server side for the client. Let us say I said to Harsha or I said to Snehal, hello. I'm going somewhere. She met me on the road and I told, hi Snehal. When will the communication instantly end?
We need some kind of response, like at least an acknowledgement, small, that yes or no, some sound.
Yeah. So the moment Snehal says hi, then it becomes a context for me also to start speaking about something like how are the things going, how come you are here, all those stuff will come, right? So when the client said that this is the file in which you are supposed to write, if the server itself is not responding, then what will the client do? So the first test case where you have to ensure that it has to pass is the acknowledgement sending from the server. Making sense? That's why we write first send the acknowledgement. Very simple function. Block 0, 0. Buffer 0, 0. Buffer 1 is the opcode 03 acknowledgement and the block number. Yeah. And the block number in buffer 2 and buffer 3. Essentially in buffer 2 and buffer 3, it is block into, so we are shifting it, right? So we get the MSB and then send it to the server. Sorry, send it to the client. Making sense? Yeah. So this is just a function. Here, block number is what we don't know. Handle write request will call this function. I am talking from the perspective of implementation. I am not talking from the perspective of code flow. I hope you got it. The code flow actually happens that the server is handling the write request. So client address, open the file with write mode. If the file is not created, exit failure, server, then and there it is there. Actually, error has to be sent to the client. You can add an enhancement to this code to send the error packet. Swaminathan told that there has to be an error packet, right? In this case, the server can send an error packet because no space, file is already there. These kind of error packets. Start with block number 0. Create a buffer of size 516 bytes. Send the acknowledgement. The first acknowledgement that goes is for block 0. Because till now what has happened? Client has sent me something. I am creating a file with that name, waiting for the subsequent packets. I have created the file, everything is happy. That indication with block number is sent to the client. Till now everything is clear?
Once I have one doubt. I mean, it's not doubt like so. Can we block? We can start with one also, right? I mean, there's no. It can mean you can start with block is equal to one also, right? Like we did in RRQ, like we did this.
Yeah, in RFC it is saying that block 0, right? It starts with block 0. We can start with block 1, but then it will not be TFTP.
Okay.
Protocol, apart from all these packet, header and all those things, at a very high level, protocol means actually a agreed process, a agreed flow of events understood by both the parties. Right? See, what is a protocol when you go to a place where that great person is no more? You definitely can't clap and smile there, right? Obviously. So you have to be silent and all those stuff because it's an understood protocol. So we start with 0. Now, see how the do while has been done. Let us look at the while condition, the exit condition. The exit condition is negative of this. And what is the negative of this? If it is not data packet and if it is not block size, which means I will take a packet which is less than the block size and yet a data packet. Is this clear? Any packet which is a data packet and less than 512 bytes, I actually have to take. Any other packet I have to discard. So that's the exit condition. So this do while will execute till this condition is valid. Either it is not data packet or the size is not block size. I will be keeping on doing it. Clear? Chiranjeevi, it answers your question. Less than 512 bytes.
That's what I'm thinking.
512 bytes and also
Yeah.
a data packet. As long as I get a packet with an opcode called data, I will keep on getting it. Right?
Yeah.
And the last byte is okay. There seems to be some issue here. Why?
Not obvious.
So if in case that buffer 1 is not equal to data, can we say with an other error scenario?
Definitely, it could be any other packet. I may not say it is error. I don't know what it is. I am only looking for data. So let us start when we are running this function. Maybe the do while condition might be more clear. So now I receive from the client. If the receive operation failed, I am closing the file descriptor and I am returning. If it is data packet and if it is equal to block plus 1, right? Which means ignoring my 0th packet or 0th block, because 0th block is already taken care, right? So 0 plus 1 would be 1. So I keep on going it and I will keep on writing to the file. Buffer plus 4, 1, and n minus 4. N is nothing but the number of bytes, which should be less than 512 or 512. Then file pointer, write to the data file block plus plus. Because I have to be ready to accept the second block. Understand that the client is sending the block number, not the server. The server is only responding with the block number. So when I know that the client has already sent one block to me, I increment my block number so that the next time I send the acknowledgement. That is why I'm sending the acknowledgement. Making sense? Client sends, I increment the block number because client would have already sent that block number. I send, yes, I have received this block number. And I'm doing it till I get the data bytes. Yeah, this is correct only. Because after this, actually I have to come out. Because that would be the last packet. Yeah. Clear? That's it. Write operation is not very server heavy because most of the work is done from the client side. Whatever you have seen, the breaking up of the file into chunks of 512, nothing is of the server's headache. The server's only work is that to ensure that the file is present and start writing into the file. Till I get 512, the last one anyways, the client would send something which is less than 512, and I say that this is the last packet and done. Any questions? Any questions?
If you want to work with me personally, where I guarantee to work with you until you secure a well-paid job, book a one-on-one call with me. Link is in the description.
One question.
Yeah.
Just a small one. Like the receive from system call is there, right? That is blocking or non-blocking?
Receive from I think it's blocking only until the client until the transaction from the client is not done, the process will not leave that. So
Yeah,
I
I
read
think
all the bytes that are supposed to be received and I stay in that.
I think I read somewhere that there is a way to make it unblocking, or I think there was some replacement of receive from, but receive from itself is blocking.
We have the flags, I guess. The flags which we said.
See, those, I think from the receive from call, I don't know if there are any parameters that will make it blocking. Maybe when you are creating the socket, you can, maybe some socket options you can set saying that, okay, let it be unblocked. Yeah. And actually, I have worked on that thing, whatever you asked with respect to the select call and also forking a server and multiple children of the server. So there's a document and I will share it after this session. So that's a very, very good question. And I think everybody has to understand it. So I created it as a document. Yeah. See, most of the network operations, I think they are blocked only. Because the protocols are so stringent sometimes that you have to ensure whatever are the guarantees that are promised by the protocol are actually acknowledged by the code also. And I think there is something in the Linux kernel called policy and some implementation. There is this abstract thing. Like the policy says that how it has to behave, but the implementation can vary or it can try to satisfy the policy, something like that. I hope people are getting it. The protocol promises certain amount of guarantees. We take that guarantees and we have to ensure that at every stage of our implementation, the other APIs that are taken from library and all those things actually are also in agreement with what we are trying to do. That's the reason why when it's not as per the protocol, but that's the reason why mostly people say that interrupt services routines have to be very small because you cannot hog the CPU time. Just read that one byte of data, set a flag, and just come out of the interrupt service routine. Let the application handle the other stuff. Yes, any other questions? Harsha, Yash, Snehal, Anirudh,
I
Swaminathan.
have questions from previous sessions, not this particular code. In this particular code also, there are few lines from the previous session comment that I didn't understand.
That's the read request, right?
No. So first thing was, if anyone implemented, what is happening is that port number 69, when I'm trying to execute, it is throwing an error. If I use a port 8080 or something like that, it is executing. That is first off. Maybe I'm missing something.
Port number 69, when you are using it is throwing error means what is the error?
You're getting error on bind line.
Yes, bind line.
So it says permission denied. It says permission denied on the bind function. And when you do it while sudo, it works. So I tried to change the ownership of the file as well, but it didn't work. But it only works with the sudo. So
Okay,
I think
you ch mod for the file also, but it did not work. But when you do a sudo, it worked.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
But-
means while executing, sorry, I'm a noob in Linux.
sudo is just getting the root access, so you can run everything what you want. So I think, I'm not sure, but when the first time I tried to create a socket, I placed the files in the home directory, and there it was working. When we tried it first time, when you just shared the normal TCP UDP client and server document, but once I created a proper folder structure and I put inside the put files inside the proper directories, then it stopped working, and I got the same error as Harsha.
Okay, I'm on Sigwin. So by default, when I log in into Sigwin, I'm root. So I haven't seen these things. So two things you can do: start doing everything as root only and see what is happening. Otherwise, you always have this sudo option.
Second question is, there is a line while filling up the details in the server socket. It says in any address that one macro is there. So in B's guide, generally when I searched in internet, it says that accept data coming from any addresses for that. And in B's it says fill in my IP for me. In that comment, it gave a comment beside that code. So I was confused what it means by fill in my IP for me and accept any data coming from any address. So that was one doubt.
No, fill in my IP for me is I think under the context that you are in the context that you are saying, I feel it's the same thing that he's trying to sell in a different way.
How so? I didn't understand.
Sorry?
How so? I didn't understand if it means different context means. I mean,
See,
same context.
when you are okay, let me share the screen because when we are doing the same thing here also. When you are initializing the server, this is a server address, right? This is where you are saying internet address any.
Yes.
So it means whatever address you give, it will put it there. All the fields are fixed. So when you are actually when you are actually invoking this particular binary, right? Dot server, and you want to give an address. So whichever is the address, it will take.
It will fill on itself. It will only handle the filling of the address. The background.
Yeah, it is filling on itself by accepting anything that you give. Where is the confusion, Harsha? Don't go with the words. And I understand the context.
Okay, there is just one thing. So in the first example, it was the port was 8080, I think. That is why it was working. So perhaps now we are using the port 69, and that is why it is causing an error. I just to pick the first document.
See, when you are talking about the first server client template code, but not the TFTP.
Yeah, I'm talking about the first
See,
TCP
that
UDP.
was only to make people understand that okay, there is something called as client, there is something called as server, there is a socket and other things. But the moment we enter into the realm of TFTP, it's always 69.
Yeah, I think it is only because this port is already allocated. Perhaps that is why it is not letting us use that. It could be. I mean,
No, most probably it could be that. See, the moment you say sudo, it is always said that see, you are the root, you know what you are doing. If the TFTP application is already there when the kernel boots up, the port number would have been assigned to it, right? Yeah, you want to override it. System is saying that boss, you are the router, you are the root, so you know what you are doing. So I'm no one to stop. So next time, I think when we get these errors, maybe we can also try to analyze these errors under what context we are getting and what we were doing and all those things. Otherwise, without the preamble and after the thing what was done, as a isolated error, it may be not complete to give an answer which will be very much correct. Any other questions? Snehal, Chiranjeevi, Swaminathan, Yash. Because this is right operation is very simple. No questions? How many of you are actually writing the code and trying to do? Yash, Sarreva. Okay. Swaminathan. Okay.
Yes, sir. I'm
Chandrika
currently
says
working
good.
on redo.
Okay. Yeah, there is not much in this session, so I will stop the recording because
If you want to work with me personally, where I guarantee to work with you until you secure a well paid job, book a one on one call with me. Link is in the description.